We have assignments on Delta Math. Mackenzie says, do we have any assignments on Delta Math? I don't think there's any more assignments on Delta Math this week. So you won't go to Delta Math anymore. Delta Math is really good for the foundations. And then, I like how Delta Math gives you that practice, but it's not really the math that I try to do too much. Well, it's the math I try to get out of in my classroom. A lot of the stuff we're gonna do moving forward is we're still gonna do equations, but more and more I'm gonna try to make it where we're thinking and predicting and experimenting and looking for patterns and things off that a mathematician assignment you guys did in the intro week. Okay, so here's what we're going to do to start off with. First of all, here is the agenda for today. Okay, you guys can see my screen, I think. We're going to do a warm-up quiz task, we're going to talk about the test review, and then new links are there. And then we're going to talk about this great mathematicians thing. Okay, so I'm going to break you guys out into breakup rooms, and you guys have the link to the warm up, and you guys are going to do the warm up together. Okay, and remember your group name. The first name alphabetically, last name. Okay, the first name in the alphabet, last name. So B before F. Is going to be the leader, and you're going to take the first problem, and then you're going to pick who goes next. And then the last name alphabetically is going to be the recorder. Okay. And you are going to share. So when we come back, I'm going to pick on groups, and the recorder will share out like kind of what the group did. Okay. And you're talking about, what you knew and what you didn't know, and did you do the problem and what'd you get? You're not going to do all the problems necessarily, but you're just going to pick one at a time. And so you're going to be in groups of 3. And so you should do at least 3 and maybe 4, and you can pick any one you want. Okay. So I'm going to bring you to the breakout rooms. It's going to be random. And then you guys are going to take turns doing problems and explaining it. And some of you guys might not be able to do it well, but I want you to try and use the vocabulary. And that's how you're going to get better. Okay. All right. Any questions? All right. I am going to give you guys about 8 minutes in the breakout room. So I'm going to set a timer. And I'm going to do breakout rooms with 3 in a room. And so the first person alphabetically is going to start. And remember your group name, your group number. And before you get started, I would definitely take some time to last name alphabetically by last name. Before you get started, I would definitely introduce yourself, name and homeschool, and maybe something about you. Okay, so the I'm gonna turn on screen sharing for everybody so everybody can share screens. So you're gonna have to hit the share screen button. And I'm gonna put the warm up in the link one more time, and it's in the lesson plan documents too. And I would open it with Cami. So at the top of the warm up up here, there's this link, and I would just either copy and paste that link, or I would click on that link and open it with Cami, and that way you can write on it. Okay. All right. So hopefully I answered that. Let's go into groups. And why is it? Hold on. Okay, there you guys go. You guys should be going to breakout rooms. right, so how do I? Hey, Austin, can you hear me? No, there you go. Oh, there it is, right there. And then we're trying to you know, have a little bit more comfort with just working in small groups. So and like I was in one group and the person didn't know how to do the problem. He was up first, he was first name. And I said, well, just ask the group, like, hey, I want to do number 3, but I don't know how to do number 3. And that's fine. You guys can, you know, work together. And maybe nobody knows. And then the recorder says, Mr. Brooks, our group had trouble with number 3. And that way, like, we know as a class, like, where we're at. Okay. So we'll try this again on a different date. And, you know, when you guys get in there, unmute yourself, start talking, and it's going to make math better. The math is always better when you're talking with other people, right? I was just confused on how many we did and who the recorder was. Yeah, so my recommendation, I said one problem each person, and so it's not really about like you have to get all of them done within a set amount of time. It'll never be that way. It's just, you know, you have time to talk to each other. And, you know, if you spend more time introducing each other and less time on the math, that might be fine. And if you spend more time on the math and less time introducing each other, that might be fine too. So, but I'm going to try this breakout room again. And I think you guys need to, I'm not making you turn on your cameras, but I do think you guys need to turn off your mute and talk to each other. Hey, Landon, how are you? He's talking with two guys.
You can add more spaces after the question, just click on the document and hit enter for however much space.
Okay.
And let's see.
It was the breakout rooms were random. Okay, so I had a request for number 3.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to start with number 3, and then I'm going to pick somebody, and you guys are going to pick another one. And so if you guys want to write this down, write this down. But number 3, the rule with multiply is outside number times outside number. So in this case, it's 1 times 1, and we don't write a 1. And inside number times inside number. So that's square root of 36.
Okay.
And the square root of 36 is a perfect square. And so it's just 6.
Hopefully I did that.
And that should fit our pattern. Like we said, if you have the same number and multiply it by itself, it should just take away the radical. So, okay, let me pick on somebody and you tell me the next problem you want to do. And I am realizing that there's no numbers over here. Haley Murphy, give me a number or give me a problem.
It will have a link for the video also if they need it.
Okay. All right, and don't forget, you guys can go to that YouTube thing where the audio is.
Haley,
along if that's a thing you like to do. But if you don't have any questions,
is there one you'd like to do?
And look at the title of the chapter. Yeah. Oh, I hear voices. Yes.
Number 1. And Savannah says number 2. Okay, so 1 and 2. Okay. So again, it's outside times outside, inside times inside. So the outside numbers are here and here.
About 9 o'clock.
So 3 times 1 is 3.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and just post.
And then the inside number is 12 times 6. 12 times 6 is 72.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and just put that up there. Get rid of that.
And now we simplify. And 72
Okay. Yep.
is going to be
36 and
so you should
2.
be good to go now. But Ms. Colbert is gonna post something that.
So
may
it's
help
3
be helpful
times
for
root
bank members.
36
That's the
times root
document
2,
she put
which is
together.
3 times
And
6 times root
that
2.
should be under, it'll probably be under the
So
readings
that's
tab
18.
on our classroom page, our Google Classroom. But if you don't have any.
3 times 6 is 18
Go ahead and hop off and get things
times root
started.
2.
And, okay.
Okay,
Otherwise, you can
and then
stay
this
on
is, it's the
and-
same rule, but this time we have to distribute. And this is gonna be 1 times
day,
root
everybody.
5, negative 5. So outside times
later.
outside, inside times inside would be a root 30. 3 times 10 is 30. And then it would be 1 times 1 we don't write. And then 3 times 6 is 18. Uh, 30 does not simplify. Root 18 is going to go to 9 and 2, which would be 3 root 2. And negative 5. So I would check if 30 is divisible by 4. If 30 is divisible by 4, then it would work out really nicely. But I know 30 is not divisible by 4. So that is our answer right there. Okay. All right.
There too.
Questions on that? Thoughts on that? So I'm using the words distribute. I'm using, you can use the words coefficient, multiply the coefficients or add the coefficients. You can use words like terms. Root 30 and root 2 are not like terms. And you can also, the number inside, does anybody remember the name of the number inside? The number inside the radical has a very special name. Does anybody remember that name? That's called a radicand. And so if you're really good with the vocab, you can say you multiply the radicands or you simplify the radicands. And then that also that could lead to perfect squares. You can use the word, find the perfect square. Okay. So lots of vocab I'd like you guys to practice using. All right. Alex Winters, give me another problem.
We were only able to do the first 3.
The first 3. Okay. All right.
The first 2, I'm sorry.
The first 2. Okay. Let's do one on the bottom. So Alex, give me one on the bottom you'd like to see.
Three.
Okay, so this one over here.
Yes.
So for these, you need to remember the rule. The rule is you may not have a radical in the denominator. Okay, you can have it in the numerator, but if you have a radical in the denominator, you have to do what's called realize the denominator. Okay, and the way you do this is always the same process. You multiply by what the denominator is, or the radical of the denominator. So if you look up at number 3, it's a great example. If you have square root of 6 times square root of 6, the radical goes away. It's realized, it's a real number now. And so that should tell us like, hey, if I multiply this by the square root of 5, it's gonna go away. And in order to make this algebraically work, where you're not changing the value, what you multiply the denominator by, you have to multiply the numerator by the same thing. Okay. And in the lecture, I said this is like a special one. Because think about it. Even though you're multiplying this fraction by a number, because it's the same number over the same number, it's essentially has the value of 1 and you're not changing anything. So if you remember multiply, and I thought about this today, I said, you know, I wonder if these kids remember how to multiply fractions. You might be thinking to yourself, now, how do I multiply this fraction? Well, remember, if you have a fraction like 3/4 times 2/3, if you can remember back to 6th grade or whenever we learned this, when you multiply this, you just multiply across. So 3 times 2 is 6, and you multiply 4 times 3, and that's 12. Okay, so it's the same thing here. Multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. So 4 times square root of 5, you multiply the outside numbers and the inside numbers. Well, there's just one of each, so that's easy. And then now the bottom is root 5 times root 5, and that follows the pattern up here. It just goes away. You can see that pattern right there. Okay. All right, and then one more. Caden Cox, is there another one that you guys struggled on? Was there one you'd like to see?
Hey, Miley, do you have any questions?
Okay, which 4? The 4 on the bottom or the 4 on the top? I'm guessing this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 on the bottom. Okay, right there. Okay. Van Hilbert's going to jump in. All right, so same rule. I have to get rid of this root 4, and I'm okay with the root 20. It can be simplified, but I'm okay with it. But I have to get rid of the root 4. So I'm going to multiply by the root 4. And it's going to follow the same pattern as up here, number 3, and over here with this one. Okay. And then, do you guys remember what's going to go on top? What's going to go on top? It's got to be the same, right? So let's multiply and see what happens. So 2 times 1 is 2. Root 4 times root 4. Can I skip this and just say it's 4? Okay. Root 4 times root 4 is square root 16. And the square root of 16 is 4. So if you guys want to just say, hey, I know the pattern. And then over here on the top, 3 times 1 is 3. And then root 20 times root 4 is root 80. Okay. All right. So looking ahead a little bit, 2 times 4 is 8. And then I can simplify root 80. I know I can simplify root 80. And my first guess, does anybody have the first guess of perfect square? I'm guessing it's 4. It might be bigger. It might be 16. But I'm going to do 80 divided by 4. Oh, it's got to be bigger than 4. So 80 divided by 16 is 5. So that looks good to me. 16 times 5. And 16 is my perfect square. So this is really 3. This is this 3
Oh, thanks.
times
So you
4
have, let's see. You have,
times root 5.
your narrative for today, and you have the next.
Okay,
reading
so
assignment,
that's going to be
those in Google
12.
Classroom.
3 times 4 is 12. Root 5. And
Okay,
again,
cool. All right, well, just let me know if
this
you have any questions. I'll be
is
on here
acceptable,
to hop
but
on.
we
Okay.
can simplify the fraction. We can look at right here on the outside. Remember the outside number is only.
All right, I'll see you later.
And 12 divided by 8. Another way of saying 12 divided by 8 is 3 over 4. 3 over 2, right? So 12 over 8 is like saying 3 over 2. Divided by 4, divided by 4, yeah. Okay. All right, good. And there you go. Okay. All right.
This is very hard to write on.
The Cami, yes, I agree, yes. And the warm-ups are not graded. You just hit submit. But the point of this is to get you guys talking and to get you guys a little bit more practice. I know we need more practice with radicals. And I see that as hard as it is to see what you're doing, I see that we need more time. And so originally I had the test scheduled for today, and I said, no, we're gonna push that back. So the test is now Wednesday because I want you guys to have a little bit more time to practice this, okay? And that brings me to the back here, you know, the test review for the week and all that. So you guys have a review and you guys have another little quiz. And for those of you guys that took the last quiz, well, not for here, but for Algebra 2, the quicker you take the quiz, the quicker you're going to get feedback. Okay, and I know some of you guys still have to Zoom with me over your first quiz. So tomorrow is a great day. Later this afternoon is also good. But tomorrow I'm way more free and we can Zoom together and talk about your formatives that we're doing. And I realize it's coming up on 9 o'clock, so I gotta hurry, okay? So the test will be unlocked Tuesday night, and then it'll stay open until Friday. And after Friday, it's gonna close. And so you'll have to take the test anytime in those 3 days. You can take it Wednesday, you can take it Thursday, or you can take it Friday, okay? All right, and I want to talk about the task. I want to go here because if you turn in the task, I gave you feedback on it. And if you turn it in Friday, I gave you feedback on it, but I haven't graded over the weekend. And I kind of said I was going to, but I had a crazy weekend with some health issues and stuff. So I'm gonna have your task today and you go back and look for the answer key once it's graded. So once you get it graded, the answer key is gonna be popping up right here, okay? It's key for the kitchen task. So those of you that have it graded, have it returned to you, okay? So, okay, so 11 turned it in, I got 2 graded, yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna talk about it a little bit. Letter B, so this came to me, this is a true story, I did have to redo my kitchen. My kitchen thankfully is a little bit nicer than this polygon right here. But I was thinking about this conundrum of, am I going to pay somebody to take up tile? Like, it's not a skilled job. You just have to hit the tile really hard with something. Or am I going to do this work myself? And I'm cheap. If you guys haven't met me, I am super cheap. I mean, I am the cheapest son of a gun ever. And they came in and they, you know, I said, how much you going to charge me? And they said, we charge this amount per square foot. It's not, they didn't tell me a price. They said, we charge this amount per square foot. You know, you got to figure it out. And I mean, obviously they would take the measurements before we start, but you know, I can understand, you know, okay, I'm paying for the size of my kitchen because the bigger the kitchen, the more work they have to do. But I could also like just take a sledgehammer. There's actually this machine that looks like a miniature jackhammer. I could do this tile myself. I had to think about, like, am I going to do this myself? What do I want to do? So letter. Oh, I just realized there's no letter A. I just realized A and B are messed up. But this part says, how much money would I save? So this is like really good thinking of you know, you have to do part A to get part B. But I want to talk about letter C. In the end, I'll tell you what I did in a minute, but this is not a math question, but this is something you have to do the math because you have to attach a qualitative amount. So you have to attach a number to something that's not numeric. What is something that would make you not want to do the work yourself, even if you could save lots of money? Like, type in the chat box, what is it that makes you want to pay somebody to do a job instead of you doing it yourself? I know you guys have seen your parents do DIY, do-it-yourself projects. And you guys, your parents have done it sometimes. Sometimes your parents,
Whatever it is, like.
you know, paint the garage.
What's the question?
Yeah, why would I, or why would anybody choose to pay more money for somebody else to do a job when I could do the job or you could do the job yourselves? Okay, so you can make mistakes. Absolutely. What if Mr. Brooks put a sledgehammer through the baseboards and went past the tile? And that would cost me more money than I would say. Takes too long, time. Yeah, Mr. Brooks's time has value. And it was actually on the Super Bowl. The only time we could get it was right before the Super Bowl. And I had to make the decision about like my time or spend time with my friends at the Super Bowl party. So time is a big deal. You have to attach a value to your time. Right now, your time isn't worth very much because you can't make a lot of money without, you know, your education. But as you get older, your time, the value of your time goes up. Too busy. Yeah, that goes with time. Experience. Yeah, experience, and that goes with making mistakes. Since I don't have experience in destroying my own kitchen floor, that could cost me more time, and I could make a mistake. Seems easier if it is easier, Jessica. It is always easier to pay somebody else to do it, and there's a word that we use called outsource. And it's always easier to pay somebody else to do it, but you have to make the money to do that. Do it correctly. Yeah, that goes with make a mistake. Yeah, I'll give you another big one, guys. The number one thing I thought about was, you know, I'm gonna have to lean over with this little jackhammer thing or swing the sledgehammer. What if I get hurt? Like, what if I pull my back out, like bending over and doing the same task for 3-4 hours? That can really take a toll on my back. I only get one back. I can't order a new back when I'm 45. So health is a big one. I want you, and not only is it my back, but when you you know, smash something with a sledgehammer, you know, you risk a little piece of shard coming up into your face or your eye. Maybe I did wear eye protection, but you know, I'm not always good about that. And then it creates lots of dust, and dust comes up. And you know, if you breathe in dust, you're really hurting your lungs, right? So health is a really big one, an important thing. And I wrote down a couple other things, but I think that the key is out there. I ended up doing half of it myself to save. Actually, I ended up doing 3/4 of it myself to save the time. And they gave me a break on the price because I did it. I didn't do all of it because I was stretched for time. But you know, the other thing is, you know, this goes back to, I'm not experienced, which a few people said, was it hard doing myself? It was very hard, very hard work. You know, it was kind of fun at first, like operating this power tool. And then after about 15 minutes, it was like, okay, my back is starting to tense up a little bit. We took off the top layer of tile. We're going to put down hardwood. And we found the original linoleum from 1970s. And so it's this beautiful pattern, like yellows and greens and tans, and just that looks like some kind of vomit. And as soon as we hit it, we saw this, you know, we saw the glue there, but also the linoleum. And we had to stop. And we had to stop because there's something that they used to build houses with. And it was all the constructions in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Every building constructed had this. And it's not allowed since the 70s. And it's a carcinogen. And there's lawsuits over it, and people sue, and all these lawyers get money because of people getting sick from this substance. Does anybody know what it is? It's a very, and when the World Trade Centers were hit, it was the #1 thing they were concerned about. Does anybody know what that building material is that they don't allow you to use anymore?
like maybe even fifth graders, but,
It is
and this
something
is just
called
a really
asbestos.
but.
You guys have ever heard of asbestos?
Our mother-
Asbestos is a fire retardant, and it has a number of other properties that made it very useful. And it is probably the biggest reason why the amount of people dying from fires every year went down dramatically once we started using it. However, when you break it up, it forms these little shards that are very small, and they go into your lungs and they kill you. It's once they're in your lungs, you're done for. Like it's like black lung disease. And so I had to stop and I had to bring in an expert to ask, like, is it asbestos? And there was asbestos underneath the linoleum. And that, once I realized what I was looking at, like to me, I thought we were going to take up the tile and it was just going to be the joist, the wood floor, but I didn't realize they tiled over the linoleum. And so we had an expert come out and test it, and I definitely would pay any amount of money to make sure it was asbestos or not. And he said, yeah, it's asbestos underneath the linoleum. And I could have paid about $20,000 to have it removed, or I could just put my floor over top of it and leave it alone. And so even though it's really dangerous, I put my floor over top of it. I didn't pay that money to get it out. So if you don't disturb it, it shouldn't create the dust and it shouldn't hurt anybody, hopefully. But this follows right around with the learning targets also. Like C is really like what I want you to consider. Like, you have this problem of taking something not qualitative, not a number, and you have to put a number on it. You have to put a value on what that time is worth, what that experience is worth. But there's also like you guys said, I didn't have an experience doing it. Since I did some of it myself, then I was experienced and I know what it's like. And the next time I have to demo, I can make a more informed decision. But part one is area, that's multiplying, and then part D is perimeter, so adding, and that was there. And then same thing with here. A is simplifying radicals. I want you to be able to simplify radicals. B is adding radicals, so B, you have to add radicals. And C is area, it's multiplying. I want you to multiply radicals. So the task followed the learning targets exactly. And as you get ready for the test, the learning targets are, of course, in the lesson plans. So if you guys come up here, here's video library. This is now new. There's videos in here to help you with any of the assignments. Here's the helper docs with keys in it, so you guys can see the keys. And then the learning targets, everything on the test follows the learning targets. So the same way the task did. And it's right here. You guys can see what the learning targets are. So that's what you got to know. Okay. All right. I've talked a long time. And I want to now say we're not going to get to the great mathematicians. We'll do that next time on Wednesday. New links. Not this week, but next week there's holidays. So we're going to have to shift around. We'll probably keep Wednesday and then we'll add in Friday. So we'll probably meet Friday morning. And you guys, if you want to do Thursday instead of Friday, send me a message and let me know. If a lot of people want Thursday, maybe we'll do Thursday. And if you want to keep it Friday, let me know. But my plan is to meet on Friday. Okay. All right. Any last questions before we go? Okay, hopefully this kind of guided you a little bit with the task. And thank you for trying in the breakout rooms. I know it always starts off really slow, but we'll do it again. And I'll put that leader, I'll assign a leader. And the leader will need to get that going and say hi to everybody. And if you're on a phone as a leader, you might say, hey, okay, I need somebody else to share the screen. That's perfectly fine. Okay.
Trying to make me the leader.
Nobody wants to be the leader. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys very much and have a great